I'm Felicia Shakiba, and this is CPO Playbook, where we solve a business challenge in every episode. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome two visionary founders, Stan Garber and Alex Yakubovich, co-founders of Level Path. Between them, Stan and Alex have built and scaled 4 companies together, including Scout, RFP, which they sold to Workday for $540 million. Now, with their latest venture, Level Path, they're on a mission to transform supplier relationship management space. In this episode, we're revealing the secret of how they've repeatedly scaled businesses, overcome the challenges of starting over, and built teams capable of tackling complex problems, all while staying true to their vision. Alex and Stan, it is incredible to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here today.
Excited to be here. Just thank you for having us on the show. Love the content. Excited to have the conversation today.
Stan and Alex, you've built 4 companies together, a rare accomplishment. So let's start with your origin story. How did the two of you meet? And what was the first moment you knew you could build something great together?
We've been at it for 20 years. Yeah. My turn, your turn today? You go for it.
All right. A little bit of origin story. So Alex and I, we actually met in high school, you believe it or not. So we've been working together for over 20 years. I guess background, both Russian Jewish immigrants, came to America in 91. I landed in Cleveland. Alex landed in Cincinnati. And then a little bit later on, you ended up moving up to Cleveland, and we went to the same high school. And, we had a few overlapping classes, but not many at that time. And, Alex and I were kind of very business oriented young students, if you call it, in high school, which is kind of weird to say. And we would trade, we became good friends. We started we basically traded stocks. That was kind of our bonding moment. In high school, we started a club, Future Business Leaders of America, a chapter of it in our organization. We had a business office. They would give us the keys during lunch to go up. We opened up Scout trade accounts. We literally traded stocks during lunch. You can imagine we were real popular back then. So our Friday nights gave us plenty of time to do some research and things. And Alex and I, as we were finishing up high school, Alex actually tapped me on the shoulder and he's like, "Hey, do you want to start a company?" And I was like, "What are we going to start? What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Let's just start a company and do what we like." And we kind of looked at a bunch of ideas. And one of the ones we were starting to build a website, and this was 2003. Yeah. Alex and I were starting, and he was like, "Hey, let's build." My dad was an upholsterer, a furniture builder. Like, let's do an online furniture store. 2003. Let me just tell you, like, pretty ahead of its time. But and so we started building this website for it, and we're like, this idea probably is not the best as like 17, 18-year-olds shipping couches across the country. But what was a good idea is building a website. So we recruited another friend over, and then we started, which became OWeb Technologies. We all went to college at Case Western Reserve out of Cleveland, and we started a web design company, which made a lot of sense from 2000. And when we were in college from 2003 to 2007, we had built a small company that by the time we graduated college, we were doing like $50,000 websites for local businesses in the area, which was pretty cool. And, that kind of kept going from that to here we are, 4 companies later, and just still loving what we're doing and a lot of passion around it. And a lot of it just comes to business problem solving, which, when we got to it, we were using the web every single day at that point. So when we were like, hey, there's a local pizza chain or a local ice cream parlor or even a business, we're like, do they have a website? And you go to it and you're like, there's no content on it, or they didn't have a website or wasn't very good. So we're like, this is a business problem that will need to get solved. And we know this industry produced some of the biggest companies that exist, being able to manage content for them on the web. And that was the simple idea behind OWeb Technologies. And we sort of kept that approach for every company we've ever done together.
Oh, it's just the only thing I would add to that is, since you talk about origin story, the one thing that was very clear from the very beginning and why we've been such good partners over the years is because we have the same values And the most important one of which is just like really focusing on the customer, like really obsessing over the customer. I think you may have picked some of that up from your dad, who owned his own business and has always like done a great job taking care of customers and has built a really successful business as a result. So both of us focused on that from the beginning. And so as we, having that foundation, even as kids, I think people gave us an opportunity and a chance because they saw that like maybe they're not like going to be the most senior website consultants on day one, but there was never a question around our commitment.
Yeah, I mean, we put on some really, really nice white shirts with some oversized ties and khakis, and
it wasn't our fashion sense or our looks that we're getting.
There was a photo, I actually pulled up an old photo. I sent it to you over Thanksgiving when I was back home in Cleveland, and I mean, like, those are baggy shirts back then. And the other part of Alex and I we both bonded naturally over part of the origin story is like, not to get like cheesy, but it's kind of true. I mean, our parents did come. We're first generation, like the American dream of like, we brought you to America for an opportunity, like here's your platform, like go give it a go. And like you were sort of taught that early on, and
go work hard, go take risks.
Like this is the world. This is the only, and I still believe this with every fiber of my body. It's like United States is one of the most amazing places. If you have an idea, you have a vision, you want to go get something done, like from a barrier standpoint and opportunity, there's no better place in the world to go out there and do something.
Yeah. And I like that you start the company because you want to solve real problems. So I love for you to share a specific moment when you identified a problem that really became the inspiration for one of your companies. How did you go from realization to building a solution?
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's been one of the through lines for all of our companies is looking at those instances where a customer is struggling with something. Maybe we see it directly and have some really deep understanding of it, and then we go and build a solution for it. One of the most pronounced parts of this is where in our company building the online ordering system for restaurant chains, that was acquired and it was a really great journey. But in building that company, that company was called Honest, but in building that company, we had to answer all of these requests for proposals, and we hated that process. And then we talked to our customers and they were like, we hate it too. Like you're doing an RFP, you only have to work with one procurement person. Think about us. Like we have to work with 20 different vendors on this, 20 different spreadsheets, 20 different email streams, 20 different, and sometimes there was even more,
My job is just managing the process,
right?
Not doing the job.
Yeah. And then all the stakeholders and everything like that. And I'm doing this all manually. And so, we thought Stan's point of view on that was when it came up as an idea of like, maybe this is something that we should solve, given that nobody likes this process, is that we felt it viscerally. Stan's perspective was go and let's talk to at least 200 people in procurement. Like, let's really understand their world. Let's understand whether, why they don't have software that help them with this before we go and build anything. And that was the origin of Scout RFP, which led us down the path of procurement and, what we're building at Level Path as well. But that was how we originally got into it, is we really felt it.
It was a pain point. Everybody kind of was no one loves doing them, but it's a necessary evil, and they have a purpose in the process. So how do you make it better? As we think about, and it's kind of funny because they've gotten, the evolution has gotten bigger to that point. So, when we were doing Onassist, the first company, or in college, we did the online ordering for restaurants. It's we're going back, we were just like, hey, we kind of don't want to talk to people at 12 in the morning when we're ordering food. I want to just be able to do it on, a desktop or a laptop and just do it. I want to interact with anybody, and it's easier. And we're like, this is a pain point. And then you go around, talk to a bunch of friends and students, and they're like, yeah, this would be awesome. So, and we were building websites for them. So we were like, what we did is we built the first batch of it. We put it out there. People were like, this is great. The restaurants were like, this is amazing. I'm getting orders. I know what's on them. I'm not screwing them up. I can upsell, I can do all these things. And then you're like, let's do more of it. And you kind of iterate from that. And that's kind of how we've always felt when we've done these companies. It's like that little nugget. And with Level Path, our current company, what we're working on is we got to see a piece of the procurement puzzle, which we were talking about the RFP for Alex, and Alex mentioned. And then for us, when we got into Workday, we got a chance to work with so many large organizations globally. And we got to be part of the procurement process and just started seeing them when we're like, this could be a lot smoother. Like, we experience the pains ourselves as stakeholders. And ultimately it's like, there's a lot from, hey, I need to buy something in a big company to actually getting it. There's so many steps that need to happen. Can you just make it more delightful? And the mission of the new company is delightful procurement. And our past company was painless RFPs. They're aspirational, right? You're looking to solve a problem. And that's really at the core, because if you're just building cool stuff, and don't get me wrong, there's companies that have struck gold with that. So that's just not how we operate. We kind of think about it very much so like, what's the business? What is the business value? And let's go build it, solve it. And then there's ability to monetize that.
We'll be right back.
Are you tired of talent and HR podcasts that sound like corporate training videos? Same. Talentless is the no-fluff show about hiring, leadership, culture, and what's actually going on in the world of work. Talentless is a podcast for recruiters by recruiters. Hosted by Desiree Goldie and Ashley King, they're smart, occasionally salty, and never afraid to say what everyone else is thinking. Listen wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe at talentlesspodcast.com.
Back to the show. When it comes to scaling, every founder hits roadblocks. So can you share a time when growth wasn't going as planned? How did you navigate that? What are the challenges and how did you really turn it around?
One thing, the first thing that came to mind as you were asking that question, is there was a period at our last company, Scout, where we didn't know, the product was constrained to RFPs. And so we had this like one solution for one group of customers that had this like one group of problems. And so, and we weren't growing. We weren't growing quickly. And it was hard to, we were talking to a lot of customers, and it was hard to figure out like the customers that had this. And at the same time, they were telling us all of the other problems that they had around sourcing, around RFPs and bids and things like that. And so then we really struggled to figure out like what to build next as part of that, or whether we should double down and just like focus more on procurement and sourcing. And the answers are often the same to a lot of the questions, and it is just listening deeply to customers. One of our customers came to us and they said, here's our spreadsheet for how we manage our procurement work. And we would love for that to be built into your product. And Stan said, well, are you willing to spend, how much amount? Because we will build that. And because something like this does not exist today.
Can you see who does what in the company? Product, go to market.
And so, and the customer was like, oh, I would gladly spend that amount of money to solve this particular problem for us. And, for us, it was less about, the money at that point, and more about this, like the fact that this customer was suffering so much from this problem, this like broader problem that they were having around load balancing the work around their team, and, really aligning stakeholders. And so that was a way that we were able to like build a broader product. And lo and behold, the first thing that we did, of course, is we went and talked to other customers, and they all had the same problem. And so once we built that product, which worked very complementary with the rest of the suite, we had that. We have taken the same template over at Level Path to do that. If anything, we've really grown that program of talking deeply to our customers, really learning from them, going on site, understanding their issues.
One could say that's our number one value.
That's our number one value, yeah, and building.
So that's over the customer, yeah. And then the other piece that, it's more of a general statement, but at every company that we've done, there's a moment where, you kind of experiment, lay that, and then you need to grow. And you can try to force it and do it all yourself, or you kind of have to look and say, hey, it's time to bring in a person that's seen this show before. And I think at both at Onisys and at Scout and now at LevelPath, we're bringing in the right talent, because half of a majority of our job right now is also just bringing in the great talent to help us move forward faster. And you get in a world where you're like, I can't grow. That's because you don't have the right leader in place, or you don't have the right team members in place to be able to allow you to grow. And I think that's something that a lot of early founders kind of are afraid to do that or hesitant to pull the trigger on this. And for a lot of reasons, certain folks don't work out, but having it's a force multiplier. Having amazing individuals over time created a very different dynamic and speed of the company. And you need that outside talent to bring in versus just thinking you can do everything yourself always. I think about companies, we felt that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because, a lot of the work that we do at CPO Playbook, which is about leadership and making sure you have the right, people in the right seats and they're growing at the right pace. So I think one of what I'm hearing from you is that one of your, success factors has been having, obviously, you guys as a team, you are a great leadership pair, and then bringing in people from past ventures to really help scale LevelPath. So can you tell us about a specific hire who made a big difference or an impact, and why you chose to bring them into the new journey?
It really takes a team to make any company work. We always laugh a little bit when we see an article in one of the business magazines. It's like, do these 3 things and your business will flourish. And it's more like, no,
do these 500 things
or everything is going to go to crap. Yeah. And so, but I'm sure we could come up with
well, I would say there's a few buckets in the, when we, I can tell you, so at Scout, our engineering team is a great example, right? Where we had what we brought as part of we have a part of our teams in Latvia. And we had a person at Scout that joined us early, and even Alex and I would be, and we were the first ones. He knows this. We were like, do we really want to bring a part of the team in Latvia? We weren't sure. We brought he became the leader of that group out there, and he scaled it at Scout. And day one when we started to work on LevelPath, Alex and I, we gave Raymond a call, and we're like, Raymond, are you interested? He's like, I'm doing this. Let's do this, guys. I love this. I love working with you. And very quickly, there's so much trust built into the equation. And that's where, anytime you meet a brand new person, you go through this phase, right? Whether it's a few months or even a year where you're establishing trust rapport, versus we were able to go from 0 to 30 plus engineers in a very short amount of time, because he knows how we work. He knows the process around it. And it took us much longer to do that at Scout versus LevelPath, because we do that. And I would also say the same thing. You and I are talking, because of our CMO, our former CMO, right? Yeah, Michaela joined us at Scout, and she pushed us outside our comfort zone very quickly. Even doing chats like this, we haven't typically done as many of those.
Right, I heard from Michaela first for this particular episode, so thanks, Michaela.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you, Michaela. But it's because of her we kind of pushed forward, and when she joined, and even she joined when we didn't even probably truly, and she knows this, before we even needed a CMO. But I'm like, let's put the right person in the seat right now, because she's going to lay the foundation to really let us scale when time comes for it. And that could be applied to so many different individuals. And it's also testament to folks know how we operate. They like it. They like the pace. We are building, our formula is to build a championship organization. And that means you're going to push yourselves across the board, and folks kind of do their best work at that moment in life versus one they can reference as just a happy family. It's no, we're here to win as a group of people, and everybody that wants to do that. And a lot of folks reach out to us after when we started LevelPath. They're like, let me know when it's time. And then we call them. We're like, it's time. They're like, all right, can I have 2 months to get my stuff in order? I'm like, done. Let's do this.
I love it. It sounds like the success has really been built. I mean, you've been through several different companies, but the team is what's been really consistent, it sounds like to me, and the kind of part of the success is, if that's what you're saying.
There's definitely a lot of the team that is the same, but and obviously we've been working together for 20 years, and there's some a lot of consistency there as well. But I think that the most important thing is the consistency of values, and just making sure that those are consistent across time and across the team. And
you're talking about culture, which plays a huge role in scaling any business. And so was there a moment early on at any of your companies where you had taken like deliberate action to establish or protect your culture? Like, what did you learn from that experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, we can talk about Scout Days, but I think I think the Scout Day culture, we also learned a lot from Level Path and how we've taken it. Like, we went from like, was it like 10 values at Scout? We went down to like simple 4 values.
4 values.
And like by design and how we want to tighten it up and like really bring them up. I don't know if you want to talk through that history, because I know you were the big driver around that. I just felt like that was pretty impactful.
Yeah, Alex, come on, bring it.
All right. So our first company, we did not have values that we posted on the wall, right? I mean, we were just doing stuff. Early founders, we were like, we don't have time for culture, values, soft stuff. Forget it. And I mean, the truth is, whether you post your values on the wall or not, you have values as a company. And so and you have a culture for sure. And so even if we weren't thoughtful about clarifying it, we were, still consistent and lived certain values. It's just that our employees had to kind of like figure out, navigate it on their own. And so as we learned a lot through that first journey, and in our second company, we understood how important culture and values were. And as a result, we went ahead and we laid out as a leadership team what we wanted our values and culture to be. And maybe we over-indexed on it a little bit. We had 10 different values. It's a lot to remember. But we laid out those values. They were important to us, and we really like reinforced them all the time, as in as many interactions as we could throughout the company. And what it led to was this just alignment of values across the company and alignment of expectations on how everybody acts, regardless of who's in the room, and how we treat customers and how we build product and how we promote employees and how we earn the trust of each other and our customers and our investors. And so all of that has been really important. Now, the hard part about that is that once you lay your values out, your team is always going to be looking to see whether you're living those values and how consistent are you, and do you do what you say you're going to do? And because it doesn't matter what the things are on the wall, they're going to be looking at the leadership team to look at like, what are the real values here? And so we try to clarify the values and then make sure that we're consistent every day in earning the trust of everybody.
I'm gonna put you on the spot, Alex.
Yep.
Like now we've gone from 10. What are the 4 values here at Level Path?
Yeah.
That we live and breathe. And I want to talk about one of them for just a sec.
Yeah, easy to remember. So number 1, obsess over the customer. And that's the most important one. That's why it's our number 1 value. We live, eat, and breathe like everything around our customers. Super important. Number 2, A players only. And we really lay out what that means in terms of like culture and performance. And we really, work to clarify that. And then we have mechanisms in place around that. Number 3 is elevate our employees. So we really, we want this to be a place where everybody grows and has the ability to grow more than anywhere else in their career. We want this to be the best place for A players to really flourish. And the last one is earn the trust of others. And we love that one because it also is very clear too. Integrity, we think, is like, can really vary quite a bit based on individuals, on like what everybody thinks integrity means. But trust is one of those things, like, do I trust this person?
Yeah.
To do what, they say they're going to do, to be, aligned with the values. And that one is really clear as well. It's like, do we trust this individual? And earning trust is something you do every single day, whether it's customers, employees, investors, et cetera.
Yep. And it goes across the board. And, for between, Scout here and as we codify the values, like the obsession of the customer, though, has been number 1 on both companies. And it's kind of how Alex and I feel. And one of the things we did to really help set the tone, and I can't tell you how many comments I get over this by doing this, because I brought this right with, we're doing this Level Path. So when you walked into the office at Scout, and we do this exact same thing here at Level Path, there's a big hallway. And you got to walk to get to the team, see the team. One of the things, like, as soon as we moved in the office space, I basically looked at this wall and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to put up like a bunch of like logo, like I'm not going to put our big logo up or anything. No, we are getting, and at that time we sourced like wood blocks, all engraved. Every single customer that has signed an agreement with us is up on that wall. And it forces every employee that walks in to your office to look at that every single day. Forces every customer to walk in or prospect to see them, to see either themselves, and then prospects can see the great brands on there. Every candidate that comes in here for an interview, every investor. So we got to see it. And then we took it a step further because folks came in, they saw their logo and they were like, oh, that's really cool. And I'm like, you know what would be even cooler? Sign it. Here's a Sharpie. Let's have you sign this tile. This is your tile to represent. Let's take a photo of it. Let's share it with everybody. We'll send it to you. We'll send it to the team. Like you are part of our family here. Like the reason why we are here to support you. So we did the exact same experience, elevated it slightly here at Level Path, but the exact same, it creates this where everybody in the company, like if a customer is here for some reason and they're about to walk out the door, literally Alex and I don't even have to be in the room and they're like, you got to sign your tile. Like you got to do this experiment. Like it's part of this and they want to take a photo together. And like, that's just one example how there's so many more on that. And every single one of these values, you can tell a story to it on how you can really elevate something very small in an action that can have just such a rippling effect. Because, you know, a few years later, it's like, I remember those tiles. Like, I remember signing it with you guys. Like, I can't wait to be a customer again to do it all over.
Oh my gosh, I want to sign a tile. Can I sign one?
We can talk about it. I don't know if you can use our phone for it, but we could definitely do it.
Well, I just feel like I mean, listening to you speak and listening to the values and the kinds of people, you know, that you bring into the company. I mean, I think that also what you're doing, which is something that's a little bit unsaid and like unspoken, is that you're creating this sense of belonging, not just with not just with the people who work with you, but also your customers. And, you know, that is a big piece of the culture. I feel like, I mean, I could be wrong. You tell me, but that's what it sounds like.
We're all in. Like that's the philosophy. And whether it's a customer, whether it's we call them ourselves Pathfinders that join the company's Level Path. Like we're all in to make you like the two values right in the middle. It's like A players only, success, elevate them, right? That's that like we're in it, earn the trust of others or obsess over your customer. Like those are outwardly facing, especially as you think about customer relations. Like we are here to make every single person successful. They took a chance to sign up on our journey on Alex and I's vision. Let's do this. Like we're here. We're all in.
We'll be right back. Back to the show. I think that having you guys on and with your experience and kind of going from each stage of growth, from seed to Series A and beyond, you've had to really adjust your approach in each stage. So can you share how you broke down the steps to scale Level Path from an idea to a company generating millions in revenue?
I think the key is just making sure that you have the fundamentals in place before you scale. And so those are things that we've always focused on quite a bit. So just like making sure that the product works. And I don't just mean like foundation, you know, that does it do what it's supposed to do, but like, does it make customers happy? So that's the first thing. Because if you don't have a product that really works, meets the needs of the customers and makes them happy, then, you know, if you scale sales, then you're just going to have a lot of unhappy customers. And we've seen what that looks like, you know, with other businesses too. Like we've all been, you know, part of customers where it's like, we're not as
a little faster. They scaled a little faster than the product was ready.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, making sure that that's foundationally there. And then as you're scaling, just like focusing on the fundamentals as well, so that you don't lose the things that make you great as you get bigger. And so, you know, we focus a lot on that and just being operationally excellent as we scale. That is, and move from scale stage to stage.
Yeah, and that's a term we use a lot, operational excellence. Like, and like, everybody kind of looks at themselves and it's like, did I do this? And like, that's the one thing you control. There's a lot of outside conditions, whether a deal's going to close or the employee, like, but were you operational excellent in the process itself? And for us, when we started it, you know, with Level Path, Alex and I fundamentally we were like, we've done this a few times now. So we're like, all right, we know we want to bring a product to market, like in next period of time. So let's start with where we want to go. And we have an idea, and we kind of said, like, what's a 10-year vision? And then we started mapping it backwards a little bit. Now, did we do that at like 10 years ago in our building company? Absolutely not. We were like, let's just get something out the door. Let's see if people like it. So we kind of earned the right to be able to say, okay, what does a 10-year vision look like? And with Level Path, we kind of step back to like, okay, we know where we need to get to. So now let's lay out a few functional ideas. One, platform. If we're going to develop the foundation of a product, can this model work for 10 years, or are we going to have to throw something away after 6 months? So we started thinking through that, like, how do we build the foundation of a product set? And then we also went and said, okay, who are the first batch of customers that are going to be crazy enough to do this with us, and folks that we know in the network? So we did. So we went out to a small group of individuals. We set expectation of, like, by being in the small group, these are the benefits you're going to get out of it. And then this is what you're going to get from us. And we're not signing for a 10-year contract, just a little while. Let us show you what we can do. We call those design customers. We started working with them for X period of time, get the product out the door. They basically have to go back to us to be like, hey, am I loving this, to Alex's point? Or like, guys, not so good right now, go back. And we go through a phase of that a little bit. Luckily, we didn't have to go through so many cycles of that, but we did. And it's important. And then you go through, okay, let me open up the next batch. And then you feel comfortable. And everything gets a little quicker, right? The first client took X number of months to implement. The next one takes number less. And you get into a quick pattern where you're like, okay, we can now create a formula around that. So now if I bring in the salesperson, or if I bring in a customer support person, I can scale to this. And then you start bringing formulas into that. And then the next phase is scale and growth. Then at some point, we're going to hit a wall where you're like, okay, we need the next bigger product. So
And I think that the hard part about that is the intellectual honesty required to say at each stage, hey, this isn't working. Because at every stage, things are going to break.
100%.
And as a team and as leaders, and it's easy to be like, whatever, we're going. But when things are broken, it's so important to stop and say, okay, we need to, let's understand the root cause of this. Let's go ahead and take the time to fix it, to make sure that the foundation continues to stay steady, because we're going to be in the next stage building on top of this. It needs to be solid. And so that I think that's the hard part, is just like pausing and working on that foundation when it's not working.
Yeah. And I think that is still a very big part of culture. I mean, I've always looked at culture as like, what are your values, which is also obviously the biggest piece of culture, the values and how they show up in the business and how they're viewed and respected by leadership. But in addition to that, there's this like unspoken part of culture, which is like, it sounds like for you is like a culture of resilience and adaptability. And so I want to really understand, especially in times of uncertainty, can you share something that illustrates like this mindset in action? And I know you kind of shared a little bit already, which is like stopping and really understanding what the root cause is, but adapting and being resilient, what else can you share that illustrates those pieces?
I have a story where Stan and I, we've spent time with a lot of companies. Well, there's a story from one company where there was when everything was up and to the right, there were big screen TVs, and they had these big screen TVs all throughout their offices, and it was big and green and up and to the right, and all the metrics and everything like that. And then when the business had a downturn, as all businesses do, they turned the screens off because they went from green to red, and they were like, you know what, we need to turn this off because it's not something that we want to talk about. We don't want to scare the employees. Like, let the grown-ups take care of the business. And so what we just learned from that and look, watching that as bystanders was like, in our business, it's so important to always be talking about the things that are broken as well as the things that are going well throughout. And so I would say that there isn't one thing that's ever like going incredibly well or not going great. It's always some mixture of the two, and just being very open with the team about like, here are challenges that we have. Here's our plan for fixing it. Maybe we know what needs to happen. Maybe we don't, and we're trying a couple of different things to figure out how to get there.
I mean, I would say we take that value because we're incredibly transparent. Like, we talk about every week to the whole company how much cash we have in the bank, what sales looking like, what product features were released. Like, literally every single Wednesday, every morning, for an hour, every team goes through it, and we put it all out there. And I meet so many executives at fairly decent sized companies that are like, that aren't public, but just, and they're like, I actually don't know how much cash we have in the bank, or I don't know how we closed off the books. And you're like that's kind of weird that level is, everybody's a shareholder. Everybody is like pushing the company forward. And like, and I get it. Like you should have an honest conversation. And folks are like, what's our plan to raise? It's like, well, here's the feedback. What's our plan to go to market? Here's the, having that level of transparency. It could be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But like if our other value is A players only, an A player is going to want to know.
Yeah. I worked with a client once and the leader was always in the back during an all hands, or like wouldn't answer questions, at the end of an all hands. It all had to be like filtered through like prior to the meeting. And I'm like, this is not working. I'm like, people can see.
There's no trust at that point.
The trust is so eroded at that point. I think that you're not just smart, but brave to be able to stand up in front of the company and say, oh, by the way, our runway is, shrinking, but why is that important? Because it creates a sense of urgency for the entire company to be like, okay, we need to pay attention. We need to do X, Y, and Z. And it really allows, like, at least in my point of view, where everyone kind of comes together to solve the problem versus not knowing anything what's going on and not being able to understand how their role really relates to the big picture. And that is the disconnect, right? So that's been my experience with other clients, but it sounds like you've been doing this for a long time, and that transparency has really been a really key piece in making sure that everybody's on the same page so they actually know how to work together and what those next priorities are.
100%. And to us, it is second nature. It's like folks ask us about something about the company outside of like truly like private information that like about individual others, like what do you want to know? Like, I'll tell you anything you want to know. And can you help? And I'm like, here's my challenge. Do you have ideas on how to help? Like, I'm happy to listen.
Yeah.
And as a result, there's a lot of trust that's built
100%
over the years.
Which is why I think part of the folks of appeal of, to your point, we talked about earlier, of like working with people you trust, and folks are like, hey, we know what we're going to get here. There's going to be a lot of hard work. It's going to be grueling, but I also know that, it's there's a mission and a vision around it. And I want to be part of that journey. And I think purpose is so important, because if you lose some of that, it's just a job. You clock in, you clock out. Like, what have you accomplished when you look back on your career? You spend so much. I spend more time, I hate to say it, but I spend at the end of the day, hour-wise, more time with this group of individuals than I do some of my kids, my family throughout the week. So it's like, I better have a reason why I'm doing this. And if I can't answer that question, why am I here?
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's like, if you're going to be away from your family and your kids and your personal life, you better be doing something great, right? I mean, that's the idea. But I do want to ask this one final question, which is, for our listeners who might be aspiring founders or really building their own growth stage company or pre-IPO, what's a piece of advice that you think could really make the biggest difference in their journey?
I have one.
Go for it, and I'll probably modify mine based on the fact that if you'll use Alex and I are in 2.5 the time, then we're almost aligned with what we say at this point in our lives. So go for it.
Well, I mean, you've already heard our customer orientation on that, and yeah, I think that's it's a great one. I think it's also pretty well known. There's a lot of folks that talk about it, but as an aspiring founder or aspiring leader, the best piece of, not the best, one of the best pieces of advice that I've read, but like that really helped me I was reading Ben Horowitz's book. But one of the things in there, if you're struggling as a manager, a lot of times you're in your head and you're like, I'm not good at this, or I failed at this, or I made this product direction, which was the wrong call. And what is my team going to think? What are people going to think? What are my investors going to think? What are my employees going to think? What are my customers going to think when, like, is this going to be on the news? Like, what's going to happen? And what he wrote in there is, and he has a whole section in there called "Nobody Cares." And it was this great coach that gave that advice, and Ben Horowitz writes about it. But his point is, like, we're all so worried about like what other people are going to be thinking about us if we, change direction or admit we're wrong or admit we're vulnerable or that something's not going well. And his advice is like, nobody cares, run your business. And it's such a good one because it kind of gives you the license to say, okay, like, everybody has problems.
There's a dumpster fire at every corner at any given time.
Nobody cares. Do the right thing. Do the right thing, and don't worry about what, other people may or may not think, because at the end of the day, nobody cares.
That's great advice. I do. I really think so. I just got off, and Stan, I want you to share too, but I just got off another recording of an episode with a leader who did, a study between men and women, and how much self-awareness women have more than men, actually. And I was realizing that, wow, I actually probably have way too much, in the sense that I'm, very much like, what about this? What about that? Everything needs to be a little bit perfect here and there before I start X, Y, and Z. And so I definitely had a moment where I was like, I should just not care, move on to the next thing, because there are a list of things that I want to do. And I think it's very limiting, to think that way when really it's just about kind of getting over that hump and saying, you know what, I am someone that's doing the right thing. I think I'm, adding value and contributing to the world. And I think this is for really any, founder, leader, and just being able to say, this is the intention. And if I mess up, then it's really about the intention and how I approach, what I'm trying to accomplish. So I think that's great advice. And I was very, I think, like what you said, it's something that has really gotten you through this incredible journey. So Alex, thank you. Stan, I don't want to leave you out. What is your one thing?
Yeah. For me as I spend a lot of my day just outwardly facing with customers, prospects, potential employees, like candidates, et cetera.
Yeah.
And one of the things for me that I, and I talked to a lot of younger entrepreneurs, and Alex and I think Alex is the one that introduced me to this, but early on we read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's a fundamental, especially when you're dealing with like a lot of engineering and others, the amount of time you'll be put in spots where you'll let ego or other things kind of like trip you up very much throughout the day. And when you like really break it down, there's few individuals that can say, to the point of screw it, but I don't, you do have to work with groups, as when you think about sales, when you think about candidates, like you just putting yourself out there and how to act around them. There's so many simple human cues that we can after reading that book, I was like, oh yeah, I could have handled that a million times better.
Yeah.
Like the outcome, my outcome was the same, but the way I approached it and positioned myself and how I have this conversation, because you're going to get so many no's, you're going to get a lot more no's and negative data points than you're going to get positive over the course of building a company. Those positive outweigh the negatives by a wide margin. Well, you just got to get to them. And to do that, I think when you center yourself around individuals and how you interact with people, I think there's a lot of fundamental human principles that we just forget. And Dale Carnegie's I think that book has sold 50 million copies at this point. It's just a classic where I would say every entrepreneur should read that book at least once and once every few years, just as a refresher.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you both so much for joining me today and sharing your incredible journey through all of your successes, your stories about scaling the businesses and building resilient teams and solving real problems. I think all of these pieces really offer such valuable insights for leaders and for our listeners. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for the show.
If today's episode captured your interest, please consider sharing it with a friend and leaving a review. To learn more about how CPO Playbook can support you or a leader you know with executive coaching or organizational transformation, visit us at cpoplaybook.com. Your support as a subscriber means the world to us, so thank you for tuning in. I'm Felicia Shakiba. Let's connect on LinkedIn. See you next Wednesday.